Hi everyone. Today I'd like to discuss this important position statement made by the International Headache Society, and this was published in 2025, so it's fairly recent. I made a summary of the important points here, and as you can see, it's titled Setting Higher Standards for Migraine Prevention. And this represents a significant shift in how we should approach migraine treatment goals. So let's start with the limitations of the current measures. Traditionally, migraine prevention has been considered successful when there's a 50% reduction in monthly migraine days. However, this position statement highlights correctly a huge problem. The current standard, leaves patients with a substantial residual burden. So let's look at this table as an example. We have baseline monthly migraine days, 50% reduction, what a 50% reduction would look like, and what it means for the remaining monthly migraine days. For a patient starting with 8 monthly migraine days, that is 8 migraine days a month, a 50% reduction still leaves 4 days. This is still disruptive. Someone with 14 days initially still has 7 days per month. This is after a successful treatment, and that is still a significant burden. And a patient with 30 monthly migraine days would still have 15, making them still chronic. So even though on paper they would be a success, in reality, they are still chronic. So this illustrates why percentage-based reductions don't fully capture the patient experience. A patient with fewer migraine days may still have their quality of life severely impacted by those remaining days. So now let's examine the new aspirational goals. And this is what's proposed by the IHS. The key shift here is focusing on absolute migraine burden while on treatment rather than these relative reductions. So they've created a tier-based system that is assessed over a 3-month period. Tier 1 is gold standard, 0 days with migraine or moderate to severe headaches. So this represents a complete remission of disease and offers patients true freedom from migraine burden. Tier 2 is optimal control. This is less than 4 days per month with migraine or moderate to severe headache with satisfactory acute treatment response, meaning pain-free within 2 hours. So this is considered a reasonable compromise between the ideal goal of migraine freedom and the more realistic expectations of modest control. So what is modest control? This is tier 3. This is 4 to 6 days per month with migraine or moderate to severe headache. And so while disability persists, this level may represent meaningful improvement, especially for patients who previously had chronic migraine. Furthermore, in this tier, there's a lower risk of developing chronic migraine. And then the last tier, tier 4, this represents insufficient control. This is more than 6 days per month with migraine or moderate to severe headache. At this level, the treatment approach is not adequately managing migraine burden and suggests a need for treatment adjustment. And this is just a cylindrical graph representing the distribution of days across these categories, with the numbers 0, 3, 6, and 7 representing the different levels of burden. So it's important to understand what a migraine day is. And this position clarifies what a migraine day is. So it includes a day meeting migraine criteria. So for example, it may be unilateral pulsating moderate to severe pain worsened by activity, plus an addition of nausea, vomiting, or sensitivity to light or sound. It can also include a day with visual aura lasting 5 to 60 minutes. This is even without a headache. Or it can include a day requiring migraine-specific acute medications such as triptans or other effective acute migraine treatment. Now, as noted here, by setting these ambitious but achievable goals, patient outcomes may improve significantly. There's also potential for reducing the broader societal impact of migraine. So this position focuses on the absolute burden patients experience rather than simply focusing on migraine attack frequency. Finally, I want to bring up an important point. These new treatment tiers aren't meant to label or discourage patients, especially in tier 4, which I know many migraine patients fall into. The migraine community has accepted a 50% improvement as good enough for too long, but this leaves many patients struggling despite being considered treatment successes. So these new standards push back against that complacency. So if you're currently experiencing insufficient control, that is tier 4, so more than 6 migraine days monthly, So they signal to your healthcare provider that your current treatment level isn't acceptable, and it forces them to try harder. So this means exploring new combination therapies, considering new treatments regardless of cost, monitoring more frequently, and making faster adjustments when needed. The goal is to make quote-unquote good enough no longer good enough. And lastly, the definition of chronic migraine has not changed. It's about your healthcare providers not being complacent due to 50% improvement because it just isn't good enough. Thank you.